I never imagined that a simple favor would alter the rhythm of my life, or stir something deep within the heart of our family. It was a peaceful Sunday afternoon in Charleston, South Carolina. The soft hush of spring floated in through the open windows, mingling with the fragrant sweetness of jasmine in bloom. I was stretched out on my porch swing, sipping cold lemonade, when my phone rang. It was my sister, Danielle. "Can you watch Caleb for the weekend?" she asked, her voice slightly rushed. "Last-minute work trip. I owe you big time." Caleb, 17, her only son, had always been the polite, steady sort. The kind of teenager who still said please and thank you, offered to help carry bags, and texted his mom to check in when he stayed out late. I hadn't seen him in nearly a year, and I didn't hesitate to say yes. When Caleb showed up that evening, I barely recognized him. He'd grown taller. His voice had taken on a low, confident tone, and he carried himself with a kind of quiet self-assurance. Still, he wrapped me in a warm hug and grinned. "Hey, Aunt Lila. Thanks for letting me crash here." We spent most of that day catching up. I made his favorite, lasagna with garlic bread, and we curled up to binge-watch a crime series we both loved. By the third episode, the sun had dipped below the trees, and the room had settled into a hushed stillness. Caleb shifted in his seat and glanced my way, looking suddenly uneasy. "Aunt Lila, can I ask you something? Kind of personal?" I paused the show and turned to him fully. "Of course, sweetheart. What's on your mind?" He hesitated, eyes fixed on his hands. "I don't really know how to talk about this with anyone else. It's kind of embarrassing." I reached out and gently touched his hand. "You can tell me anything, Caleb. No judgment." He exhaled deeply. "I guess I just need some advice about relationships and growing up." A wave of relief washed over me. I'd feared it might be something far worse. "That's completely normal. Everyone feels a little lost sometimes. What specifically are you struggling with?" And just like that, the floodgates opened. For the next hour, he spoke candidly about a girl at school who barely knew he existed, the teasing he endured from friends for not having a girlfriend, the pressure to be a man in a world that often felt cold and confusing. He'd bottled all of it up, afraid that speaking it aloud would make him look weak. I listened closely, offered what wisdom I could, and shared some cringeworthy tales from my own teenage years. He laughed, visibly relaxing, the weight on his shoulders easing bit by bit. Later that night, as I was setting up the guest room, Caleb stood in the doorway. "Aunt Lila, I know this sounds weird, but could I sleep in your room tonight? Like when I was little?" I paused, just for a moment. He was nearly a grown man, but I could see in his eyes. This wasn't about fear or immaturity. It was about seeking comfort, a connection to something that felt safe in a world that was rapidly shifting beneath him. "Of course," I said softly, "just like old times." We lay on opposite sides of the bed, and I listened as his breathing slowed and deepened, sleep finally claiming him. In that stillness, I found myself struck by how hard it must be to grow up today, with all the noise, the expectations, and the loneliness. The next morning, I made pancakes while Caleb scrolled on his phone at the counter. He looked lighter, brighter somehow. "Thanks for last night," he murmured without looking up. "I really needed that." "Anytime, baby," I said, smiling. Later, we strolled through the park. He told me he wanted to study marine biology, to leave the small town and explore the world. I was struck by his sense of purpose. The weekend flew by. When Danielle returned that Sunday evening, she hugged me tightly and tousled Caleb's hair. "So, how was it?" she asked. Caleb gave a casual shrug. "It was cool. Aunt Lila's awesome." After they left, I returned to the porch and let the quiet settle in. One small favor, so simple at first glance, had given me a window into a teenager's world and reminded me how vital it is to simply be there. Sometimes life doesn't come with fireworks or grand moments. Sometimes it's the quiet confessions, the midnight chats, the gentle reminders that someone's listening, that shape us. Caleb still calls me from time to time. We swap book ideas, argue about plot twists in our favorite shows, and occasionally revisit that crime series we bonded over. That weekend gave us something I hadn't known we needed: a deeper, lasting connection, all because of one unexpected request.